Alright, my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and as we roll into next week, my friends, I wanted to continue the series at the channel where I revisit a handful of builds that I'm currently using in the game. Now in today's video, I'm going to be highlighting a run and gun build based around the Harvest handgun, which is now available in the game from the Loot Goblin. Also, I'm going to show you a Pestilence build as well as a run and gun SMG build at the very end. Now, one thing you'll notice in these build breakdowns is I do not have the modifiers active, and the main reason for that is based on feedback you've sent the channel, because a lot of you have said you do not turn the modifiers on and you like to see a build really at its base. That way, regardless of when you may see this video, you know exactly what it can do without any certain, events attached to it. With that being said, my friends, I'm going to jump to the build breakdowns. As always, I want to thank you all for your incredible continued support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time. And with that being said, let's jump right to the footage. Starting with the specialization, I'm using Gunner. Doing that for a bunch of reasons. First of all, you get some extra armor on kill, you get a reload speed increase. This also gives you access to the Banshee Pulse, which I do love to use with this build. And always remember, regardless of the specialization you choose, have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. Now, I happen to use this build when I'm farming missions or open world activities such as propaganda broadcasts, territory controls, public executions, things like that. And my primary for this build is the Harvest. Now, if you don't have it, now is the time to farm for it because the Loot Goblin is dropping this weapon. He is the only NPC that can drop this, so now's the time to get it. Now, as you can see, I have the talent Determined. After killing an enemy with a headshot, the next shot landed on any enemy will be a guaranteed headshot as well. And you'll notice my other two weapons, the Marksman Rifle and the Rifle, also have the talent Determined. Have that across the board, my fellow agents, because when that talent is procced with the talent on your chest, it is absolutely lights out. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we are running 4 Hunter's Fury, 1 Walker and Harris, and the Memento Backpack. Now starting with the mask, it's the first of 4 pieces of the Hunter's Fury gear set. We're running 4 so we get all of the gear set bonuses, though we're really only focusing on the 3rd and 4th bonus. Now the 2-piece bonus is 15% shotgun and SMG damage. That does not affect us, but the 3-piece is 20% armor on kill and 50% health on kill, and 4-piece is Apex Predator. Enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff, amplifying your weapon damage against them by 20%. Killing a debuffed enemy with your weapon disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. And one thing you've heard me mention anytime I talk about this gear set is that talent is going to save your ass time and time again. Now moving on to the body armor, it's the 1 piece of Walker and Harris. It is the name body armor Chain Killer with the talent Perfect Headhunter. And for those of you out there who may not have this, I recommend hitting up Countdown, set your targeted loot to Walker and Harris. You should be able to pick up one pretty damn quick. Next we have the holster, the knee pads, and the gloves, which are the 3 remaining pieces of the Hunter's Fury gear set. I'm trying to stack headshot damage everywhere I can. And always remember, fellow agents, this is just a template, as you've heard me say in every build video I put together. The most important thing is to take your time, make a build your own. I will talk about that a little bit more at the very end. Last but not least, we have the Memento Backpack. Now this is one of those must-have exotics in the game, and the reason it is so effective is because of its talent Kill Confirmed. Now if you do not have this, once again I recommend hitting up Countdown, set your targeted loot to Backpack, because when you're using this backpack, especially with a run and gun build, you're picking up trophies, you're getting extra weapon damage, bonus armor, skill efficiency. As far as my skills are concerned, I'm using the Bulwark Shield because primarily I am using my handgun, as well as the Banshee Pulse that is going to definitely help me out as well. Hope this video helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know and I will do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. starting with the specialization, you can see we're using gunner, and I'm using that for a bunch of different reasons, my friends. First of all, you're going to get some extra armor on kill. You get a reload speed increase. I also like the fact that I can use the Banshee Pulse with this version of the build. This specialization also gives you a rate of fire increase. You also get some extra weapon handling when you are motionless for more than 1 second. And always remember, regardless of the specialization you choose, have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. Now, my primary weapon for this build is the Pestilence, and over the last 4 or 5 months, this has become one of my go-to weapons in the game. It is in the general loot pool, so I recommend hitting up Countdown, set your targeted loot to LMGs. The reason it's so effective is because of its talent Plague of the Outcast. It's applied a buff dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This stacks up to 50 times. Whenever an enemy dies with this debuff, 100% of the stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. This gun is an absolute monster, and as you've heard me mention in previous videos, in my opinion, this is one of the best exotic weapons in the game. As far as the secondary and sidearm is concerned, totally up to you, dealer's choice, use whatever you want. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see I'm running 3 Langmo, 1 Petrov, 1 Overlord, and the Coyote's Mask, which is what we're starting with. Now this has the Talent Pack Instinct, where you and all your allies are going to gain a crit hit chance and or crit hit damage bonus based on the distance of the last enemy you hit. This is a fantastic mask to use whether you're running solo or in a group. And as we continue on, I want to remind you that every single piece of gear I'm wearing in this build can be found in the general loot pool, and I will talk about that a little bit more at the end of the build breakdown. Now moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 3 pieces of Langmo, and the reason we're running 3 is because we are targeting that 3rd brand set bonus, which is 30% LMG damage. You'll also notice I'm running the Talent Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. One of the best talents in the game. Next, my fellow agents, we have the holster. That is the 2nd piece of Langmo. And as we continue, I'd like to also point out the fact that some pieces in this build, like the holster, are not maxed out as yet. So always remember, even as you're trying to put together the perfect build, you can put something together in the meantime that can still get the job done. Next, we have the knee pads. They are the Fox's Prayer. We're running these for that middle attribute, 8% damage to targets out of cover. Next, we have the Contractor's Gloves, the 1 piece of Petrov that gives us 10% LMG damage bonus, but the main reason we are using these is for that middle attribute, 8% damage to armor. Last but not least, we have the Backbone Backpack. This is the 3rd and final piece of the Langmo brand set. It has the talent Perfectly Unstoppable Force. Killing an enemy increases total weapon damage by 7% for 15 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. And for those of you out there who have been following this channel, you know I've been looking for this version of the bag for a very long time. Finally got it the other day, so obviously I wanted to bring you a build really quick. As far as my skills are concerned, I'm using the Banshee Pulse, and I'm either going to use the Assault Drone or the Defender Drone, depending on if I'm running solo or in a group. In the gameplay footage, you'll see me using the Defender. It does, kind of come in handy here and there. When we take a look at the numbers, you can see I'm sitting at 42.7 crit hit chance, 126.7 crit hit damage. Remember, this is without any global modifiers, and the numbers you're looking at are without any of the bonuses running on Coyote's Mask. And the last thing I'd like to mention, and I say this in every build video I put together, always remember this is just a template. One thing I talk about here at the channel is that you want to try out different variations. I am running Obliterate on the chest. Another really popular version is Glass Cannon because it puts out a shit ton of damage. It really does. And remember, this is not the hardest hitting build out there. But one thing I try to do here at the channel is highlight builds I use on a regular basis that work for me. Hopefully this helps you out, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I will do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. Just looking forward to hopefully relaxing. Ooh, a trash panda. Oh, shit. I got distracted by the flora and fauna. Anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, you heard me say this in the video earlier. The most important thing when it comes to any build in the game is to take your time, make it your own. You may want more armor, you may want less, you may like one talent, not like another. Because one thing I hear from a lot of players, especially who are new and just returning, is you're saying, you know what, I saw a build online, I copied it exactly. It does not work for me the way it does for that person. It's because every person plays differently, and not only that, you want to pay attention to the actual gameplay you're looking at. Are they running solo? Do they happen to be in a group? Are they just doing crowd control, covering a door? So again, pay attention to those details because it could help you figure out exactly why your build may not be functioning the way you want it to. Last but not least, yesterday I did post a video at the channel talking about some of the best named items in the game and how to get them. If you missed that, you will find a link to it in the video description down below. And that's all I got for this video, my friends. Thank you once again for everything. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in the next one.
civilians in danger.
Now starting with the specialization, you can see we're using Gunner, and we're using that for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, you get some extra armor on kill. You also get a reload speed increase. It has access to the Banshee Pulse, which I love to use with a build like this. You get some extra rate of fire as well, and always remember, regardless of the specialization you choose, always make sure to have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. I see so many players out there forget to do that, so please do not make that mistake, my friends, otherwise you're leaving weapon damage on the table. Now my primary weapon for this build, as you can see, is the LMG Banshee with the Talon Killer on it. However, you have so many different options to choose from. You know, if you have the Dark Winter, I recommend using that. You could also use Lady Death. But once again, my goal in this build is to highlight weapons that are easily obtainable. This happens to be one of them, and as I said, it has the Talon Killer. We're killing an enemy with a critical hit grants 70% crit hit damage for 10 seconds, which happens to be a lifetime in this game. Now my secondary weapon for this build is the ACS-12 with the Talon Close and Personal. And with that Talon, killing an enemy within 7 meters is going to grant 30% weapon damage for 10 seconds. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running 2 Sokolov and 4 of the Hunter's Fury gear set. We're running 4 so we get all of the gear set bonuses. 2 pieces 15% shotgun and SMG damage, 3 pieces 20% armor on kill and 50% health on kill, and 4 pieces Apex Predator. Enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff, amplifying your weapon damage against them by 20%. Killing a debuffed enemy with your weapon disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Now moving on to the body armor, it is the first of 2 pieces of Sokolov, and having those 2 pieces equipped are going to give us an extra 10% SMG damage and 13% crit hit damage, and I'm using the talent Intimidate. While you have bonus armor, you're going to gain 1 stack each second up to a max of 9, and each stack is going to increase weapon damage by 4% to enemies within 10 meters. Next we have the holster, the knee pads, and the gloves. They are the 3 remaining pieces of the Hunter's Fury gear set, and one thing you will notice is on every single piece of gear in this build, I'm trying to stack crit hit chance and crit hit damage everywhere I can. Last but not least, we have the backpack. That is the second piece of Sokolov, and this once again happens to be another piece in this build where you do have a lot of different options. Now, as I said, I'm using a piece of Sokolov with the talent Bloodsucker, and I'm using that to proc the talent on my chest, and as you can see, killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds. The max stack is 10. However, for those of you out there who have the Memento backpack, I would use that instead because of its talent kill confirmed. Remember, this is a run and gun build. You're moving non-stop, you're taking out NPC, you're picking up trophies, you get that extra weapon damage, bonus armor, skill efficiency. As far as my skills are concerned, I'm running the Banshee Pulse and the Crusader Shield. When we look at the numbers, I'm at 54% crit hit chance, 173.9 crit hit damage. Global modifiers are turned off, and remember, those numbers are going to be dependent on not only the gear you have equipped, but having a Shade Watch of level 1000. Hope this video helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I will do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. Most of you know by now that one of my favorite aspects about putting these build videos together is the family that we have here at the channel. So if you have any recommendations you want to pass along, feel free to leave them in the comments section. The main goal is to help out as many people as we can. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with some gameplay footage and commentary. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your incredible continued support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time, and as I mention at the end of every one of these, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.
How's it going? Perfect. No survivors. All that's left is the agent. Eliminated.
Agent, I need you to kill those cleaners. Secure the rest of the clinic, and see if you can find any leads on that workshop.
I got this. How the fuck did you get over there? If you're looking for survivors, you're fine.
I gotta move, they're closing in!
Somebody kill you! Vital signs critical.
Bury our dead and move the supplies you recovered back to the bridge. We'll find Danvers and make him pay for this. There's more cleaner activity in Dumbo. I'll check in with scouts and call if we find anything.